Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Robert Meyer Burnett.
Great to be here, John.
Jonathan Voico.
Really great to be here.
Chris Carr's here.
That's fine.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you're watching the show live, you want to get a comment, question, or a topic sent in for us to address, as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on the show, go ahead and fire it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And the good news about the tip link is that it's actually good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So maybe you're watching this show a little bit later on the day when we're not live on YouTube, or maybe you're listening to our show on our podcast feed, either on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and you have a thought or a question you'd like us to address, go ahead and fire it on into the tip link. And if you send it in when we're not live, we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys. That down, let's get things started with this, shall we? Disney Plus just dropped their newest Marvel show, and it's not MCU, but it's the new animated show, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which they announced to some fanfare a little over a year ago, I think now it was. And, you know, when they dropped the first trailer for it, I have to admit, I did not like it. It didn't feel like a lot of animated things are not just for kids. Like a lot of animated things will have mature themes and like they can feel like they'd be good for everybody. But there was something about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man trailer to me that just felt very kiddie. And I did not like the animation style. I haven't liked it feels like a lot of shows are going with the cheapest animation styles they can, like make it as inexpensive as possible. And there was a lot I didn't like about it. Well, the show is now out, at least the first 2 episodes. And as of this recording, it is holding a perfect 100% critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes. 100%.
Hell yeah.
So I thought to myself, I'll go watch the first 2 episodes. And I'll say this, had I submitted a review on Rotten Tomatoes, I would have also been one of the positive reviews. But not enthusiastically. It's fine. It's okay. It's not, I never once while I was watching it was regretting that I was watching it. I never once thought this is too stupid to watch. It's actually, he starts talking about a girl who used to babysit him, and then a joke gets dropped that I actually laughed right out loud. There's a really funny moment in episode 1. And, you know, the first couple of episodes are basically laying the groundwork of getting us introduced who the primary characters are and setting up things. They do a little bit of a twist. Like instead of Peter coming home and Tony Stark is waiting for him in his living room, it's
Osborn.
Norman Osborn instead is waiting there for him in a very, you know, kind of same play, but you saw that in the trailer. So, I mean, the characters are fine and good. I do like Peter. Peter's got all that original quirkiness that Peter Parker had, I had to imagine, back in the 60s when he was first coming around. So they go right back to his first thing in high school. They drop in some Avengers cameos and stuff like that. And you know what? It's not bad. It's not bad. I still feel like the biggest thing hurting it is it still feels like it is very much targeted at 12-year-olds.
Perfect. My intellectual level will meet this show. Yes.
Whereas a lot of animated shows will be friendly to 12-year-olds, who seem to target a little bit more general. But again, you know what? I'm going to watch episode 3 when it comes out.
Nice.
It was good enough that it's got me interested, and it's cute, it's clever, it's not shaking the world or anything like that, but it's actually pretty okay. Chris, I know you've been looking forward to this show.
Yes.
Are you encouraged seeing the reviews from it? What have you been hearing about it so far?
I'm very encouraged by these reviews. Love yours. I don't hate it.
Yeah, I mean, and I thought I would.
It's honestly high praise, though, from you.
I thought I would hate it,
Yeah.
and honestly, I didn't.
I'm pumped about this. I love when we see the kind of high school years of Peter Parker and everything. I thought this looked charming as heck from the get-go, so I'm very pumped to watch this. I love animated Spider-Man. That's how I first fell in love with this character, and that's what got me
90s?
into the comics. Yeah, this was my gateway drug, the 90s one, so more
The
of
Electric
this.
Company Spider-Man.
Oh,
man.
God, I remember
But
that.
that Spider-Man was on the Electric Company.
By the way, the opening theme is a
it
house
play
remix of the original Spider-Man,
Oh, sweet.
Spider-Man,
Oh, that's cool.
which I thought was
That's very
actually kind of
fun.
fun. That kind of worked. Rob, have you been looking forward to this show? What are your thoughts about it? And what do you think about it scoring a perfect score so far?
Well, okay, here's the thing. I thought X-Men 97 was way better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a hot mess, and I really enjoyed it. Like Chris said, and like all of us said, I've been watching Spider-Man animated cartoons since I was a little kid. So Spider-Man is his amazing friends with Firestar.
Yep.
Come on. And Iceman. I want to love this show. I have not watched it. I would much prefer to like the show. And I have to say, they Hot Toys is they dropped the figure. They're putting out this figure, the new figure from the animated show.
Ooh, that's
this
cool.
figure. And I have to say, at first I didn't know what to make of it when I saw the animated version, but when I saw the actual figure and like looking at it in 3 dimensions, I really like this Spider-Man design. You know, I mean, I thought at first, I'm like, what is this? And but it's kind of a variation on multiple themes that we've seen over the years with Spider-Man. The problem is, I love the Spider-Verse movies so much, and the animation in those films is so dynamic. And it's
Sure,
so,
I mean-
I can't, it's wrong and it's not fair to compare.
One has a movie budget. one
You
does
know,
not, yeah.
but the design, like you said, the animation is a little undynamic in terms of even the color palette seems a little, it's bright, but it seems very almost brightly monochromatic. In a
Oh
way.
yeah, I've heard that complaint before with other things. where it's
And it
bright
feels
but
very
brightly monochromatic.
flat. I mean, all animation, if it's not in 3D,
gonna look
is
flat,
is
yeah.
flat.
Yes.
Of course it is. But this feels. You know what? I have not looked this up, but I will be surprised if I look into it and find out it's not the same animation company that does Archer,
So
because it looks exactly like Archer.
that's the funny thing you were saying. I haven't watched it all the way through, but I've seen some of it. And because it harkens back to Archer so much, I'm constantly thinking it's going to get raunchy. There's going to be a raunchy joke right here.
yeah.
You know, someone's gonna drop-
Phrasing.
All of a sudden, Peter's got a
And it
Bloody
just stays
Mary.
clean, and I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah, some say you got web on my face. Phrasing, like expect that's coming out or something like that. But you know what? Again, Peter's very charming, and you know what? You can go a long way with your show if your main protagonist is really charming, and it makes me overlook some of maybe the shortfalls of the show because I'm actually really I like Peter. Peter in the show is really good, and so I'm going to be cheering for him.
And also, I think, look, I think that Spider-Man is a gateway character for kids as well. So this is this will open up Spider-Man for a whole new generation. People can say this is going to be their Spider-Man. And I think we tend to underestimate sometimes when new shows come on about how they can impact a generation. I'm like, we've had these things our whole lives, but there's kids today that haven't watched an animated Spider-Man series. This will be their first.
So they're gateway superheroes that leads to what, heroines?
That was a good joke.
Heroin,
Bravo.
get it? Double entendre.
Bravo.
I don't think this is going to be a highly viewed show. I really don't. I don't think it's going to have like a huge viewership or anything like that. But you know what? The one thing that I really like about this show is, here's one thing I absolutely love about it. This is a minor spoiler, but it's not a plot thing. Is that one of my biggest frustration tropes that so many movies and TV shows use is when the hero likes a girl or a guy, and that girl or a guy is already in a relationship with somebody.
Oh, yeah.
That person they're in a relationship with is a dick, right? Every time.
Yeah.
Every time, right? They don't do that here. There's a girl that Peter's crushing on, and she's got a boyfriend, and he's actually awesome. And you know what? I just remember thinking, I love that they're breaking that trope. I think that was great. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think? The Amazing Spider-Man, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, is to say, is out now, at least the first couple of episodes, and the reviews so far are, well, it's got 100%. And even I, who didn't think I would like it, I don't love it, but I'm actually on board with it. Have you guys seen the first couple episodes yet? If so, what did you think? Whatever your guys' thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, I don't know if you heard about this, but in a little under 2 weeks, there's going to be a football game called the superb owl, the Super Bowl. Super Bowl is coming. Now, of course, as movie fans, one of the things that we get really excited about because of Super Bowl is that's when they drop some of the big trailers, right? But here's the hitch. Why doesn't every movie put out a trailer at Super Bowl? It's so big and has such an impact. Because it's expensive. It's really expensive. Some movies' marketing budgets are like $20 million, right? So when you have, just a couple of years ago, a 30-second, not even the full 2 minutes, a 30-second spot on the Super Bowl was like $5 million. You would be talking at the time of like some movies are going to be spending like 10, 15, 20% of their entire marketing budget just for one 30-second spot. Well, now that price tag seems like the good old days because according to a report now, Fox is selling 30-second Super Bowl ads for $8 million a piece. That means, let's say you've got a movie's going to have a 30, 40, even a $50 million marketing budget. You're talking spending like 20% of your
Those are
marketing
Dr.
spend.
Evil prices.
Yeah, these are
$8 million.
for 30 seconds. Now, it says they've already sold 10 spots at $8 million, but the average price right now is about $7.5 million. This kind of just doubles down on the fact that, you know, remember when, I think it was with Super Bowl that Falcon and the Winter Soldier trailer dropped? It was with one of the big football, I think it was Super Bowl, but when a movie drops a trailer on Super Bowl, its engagement goes through the roof. Because when you drop it on YouTube and online, people who are interested in seeing that trailer will go see it. When you drop it at the Super Bowl, you're put in front of an audience that may not normally go out to look for your trailer. You're put it in front of eyeballs who are the valuable eyeballs, the people who may not be thinking about going to see your movie. You're getting your ad in front of the biggest audience possible, and so it comes with a premium price. $8 million, though. It starts to get to the point where if you're a movie executive, can you justify spending 15, 20% more of your entire marketing budget for one 30-second spot? And we all know what these spots now are, right? They're 30-second spots that end with full trailer online now.
Where it's cheaper.
Yeah, where you can see the full 2 minutes and we don't have to pay anything to upload it to YouTube, right? Because ain't nobody buying 4 30-second spots to play their full 2-minute trailer. Although kudos to anybody who does. That would be, at this rate, $32 million if they wanted to play their full 2-minute trailer on the Super Bowl.
Worth it.
Jeez,
Are we going to see Reed Richards, John?
Well, see, that brings up an interesting question about what are going to be the trailers that play. Now, I'm sure we're going to speculate a lot about this over the next 10 days or so. But there's one report going around. Again, I don't think there's any reason to believe in the total validity of it, but this is the one that's being shared around a lot. Now, this is from comicbookmovie.com, but they're sharing as well. The speculation is there will be a spy teaser, either MI8 or The Amateur, a Jurassic World Rebirth trailer.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Which that makes sense. Here's one that 100% makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
F1. The new Brad Pitt film. It's a sporting movie. You know, that could have stuff in there.
Joseph Kosinski directing.
What's that?
Joseph Kosinski.
Oh, that's
coming
right.
off
He's
of Top
directing it.
Gun
That's
Maverick.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Thunderbolts. I 100%
Yeah.
believe that.
Yeah.
I fully expect
I
the
hope
Thunderbolts.
so, yeah.
Lilo and Stitch, which I also believe because you know why? You know who's watching the Super Bowl?
Lilo.
Dads.
Oh.
A lot of dads.
That sweet little fictitious kid.
A lot of dads and parents are going to be watching Super Bowl, so that makes sense. And the other one is Fantastic Four, which, I mean, you have to, right? Like, here's my thought around Fantastic Four. By the way, I still firmly believe we're going to get a Superman trailer.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't that long ago that we got the first one. Super Bowl is just too big of an opportunity.
Someone's got to talk.
Yes. And second trailer, yeah, first trailer, not much dialogue. That's fine. Second trailer is when you got to start getting into the meat of the stuff. But other than Superman, I think the one that really, really needs it is Fantastic Four. Mm-hmm. Because I think a lot of people in our 5% bubble, the 5% bubble being the people who make shows like this and people who watch shows like this. We're the 5% bubble. We all think, you don't even need to advertise that. Everybody's excited about Fantastic Four. Yeah. They've made other Fantastic Four movies, and they did not go well.
No.
And they're going to have to win an audience over, because there's going to be a lot of average moviegoers that are going, again? Another Fantastic Four? This is the third cast in like 15 years that we're going to see in the Fantastic Four. This is a good place to drop something like that. And so I totally buy into that. So, yeah, I think this list makes sense. Also, the Mission Impossible 8 one, completely. Final Reckoning needs a good, full, meaty trailer. That's going to appeal to the grr kind of audience that's watching the
I'm
Super
really
Bowl.
excited for this movie.
Mission
am I-
Impossible
yeah.
8?
I really
Me
am.
too. Listen, with all the crap that Mission Impossible 7 got because of its utterly ridiculous title, but I mean, I liked
What's the amateur?
Dead Reckoning Part 1. I liked it. I don't think it was one of the best Mission Impossible movies, but I liked it, and I'm looking forward to seeing the second one. So, Rob, let me go over to you on this. Out of the ones that we just listed off here, which are the ones that you think are most likely, and maybe what are one or two you think might be missing from this that you think might have a shot of playing at Super Bowl?
Well, I can't help but think our biggest franchises that have made more than, $1 billion. Jurassic Park, I think for sure.
Yeah.
One, I got to tell you, I'm actually really intrigued by this new Jurassic Park movie. I mean, you know me, John. Anytime dinosaurs are eating people, I'll watch it. But I don't know. It just seems to me like they could have been. I don't know why I'm excited for it, but I am. They're going to do something new. So I think we're going to get that. I think we're absolutely going to get a Superman trailer. I think we're absolutely going to get a Mission Impossible trailer. And like the animated shows, Lilo and Stitch, probably. I would imagine that Fantastic. I don't know if they'll do Captain America, Thunderbolts, and Fantastic Four. That's a lot of money, but I think they have to. I think Disney kind of has to, because you're looking at February, May, and July. And that's a stacked, and all of those movies should somehow be intertwined. And I think they need this, because we had one movie that was kind of not really an MCU movie in Deadpool and Wolverine. These three movies are bringing the MCU back. So I think this is...
And they're such different tones. So
Yeah,
just do it.
yeah.
See, I don't think they'll do Captain America because if Captain America is a little bit further away, but Captain America is literally going to be coming out in single-digit days after the Super Bowl, and so I'm already thinking they're going to consider their marketing saturated by that point.
Yeah, maybe. Although I think they need all the help they can get.
Yeah.
So,
Well, they are projecting like a $95 million opening for it
Yeah.
right now.
And
I have my doubts it'll do that, but that's what they're projecting.
all we've been doing is basing our like and dislike of a film on reshoots or whatever. When all films had a lot of reshoots, like from the very beginning to shoot it again, but that doesn't mean it's not good. I'm hoping I've got fingers crossed for that, but I don't think there's anything that I would have to look at the whole release schedule in front of me in terms of what the movies are, but I'm sure that there's one or two that we've missed. But I think F1 is what's that?
I was agreeing with you.
Oh, F1.
He's not
But
used to
shocked
that.
by
I
that.
think
He's not
any
used to that.
sports-related movie should probably be on the
Oh,
Super
yeah.
Bowl. There is one though that there's one we're missing. It's at the top of my head, and I don't know what it is.
Avatar?
That's too
No,
far.
I think that's too far away.
See,
although-
I think it's absolutely too far away, but I make an exception for the too far away rule when it comes to Super Bowl, right? Because that's such an opportunity. The only reason I don't think they're going to do Avatar is because I think Avatar, while it needs a marketing campaign, I don't think it needs Super Bowl.
No.
And so I think they're going to save their money and then go hardcore when it gets closer. Chris, you heard the list. Which ones do you think are most likely on there? And do you have any films that you think we're not thinking about that could possibly pop up at the Super Bowl?
Shocked that you don't think James Cameron will spend $8 million to show some papyrus to all of us. Oh my
More
goodness.
papyrus.
I definitely agree with Rob about Jurassic Park being in the mix there too. I think that's a no-brainer. I think Superman and all of those kinds of films, all of your big tentpole blockbuster movies are there. People in the chat were saying, do those movies even need the Super Bowl? Yes, they do. Because your average moviegoer, we're all in our little bubble, right? All of us in the chat, everyone who's in this room, we all love movies, so we know about what's coming out. For your average Joe Schmo, you need to remind them that that movie's going to be coming out, right? The big winner for these Super Bowl commercials, though, is always Farmer's Dog, and that's all I care about. There's going to be a sad puppy commercial that's going to make me cry and hold my dog. And just a fun fact for everybody, this is something I tell my students all the time, too. So the word Super Bowl has been copywritten since 1969. That's one of the things that also helps inflate the cost of these commercials, because if you say the Super Bowl, it's why so many people say the big game.
Right.
You have to pay the NFL money. I bring this up to my actors all the time because I have so many clients who have booked Super Bowl commercials that are non-union and they make no money. So rule of thumb, if you are a burgeoning actor, if they can afford to say Super Bowl, they can afford to pay you residuals and more money.
Here's a couple of movies that our viewers are writing in that I want to throw out there. Okay. Give me what you think the chances are. Ballerina, the new John Wick universe movie with Anna de
When does that
Armas.
come out?
June.
June is kind of far.
Not really.
But does Lionsgate want to spend that?
That's the thing.
That's
That's
the
my
thing.
question. Does Lionsgate have the money to drop $7.5 or $8 million on a 30-second spot? That's practically a third of the budget of the movie.
They're better off getting Anna de Armas to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. She literally could just be
Okay,
sitting there,
Anna,
like, flipping
how
the
quick-
iPad.
Yeah.
Cut to her on the sidelines.
Yes,
just, you know.
exactly.
Anna, how
Flipping
quick
around
can
with a
you
gun.
start dating one of the players?
Right.
And then can you sit in the box and
Just-
have the camera go to you
yeah.
20 times?
Have her
Okay.
sit next to Taylor Swift.
So how about this one? How to Train Your Dragon.
I think yes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
That's
possible.
actually a good one.
Yeah.
Which one have I
Coming off a huge franchise. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
our-
actually. I had 3, and that tops all 3 of those.
What were your 3?
Possibly an Alto Nights, just because it's Scorsese. Possibly a Paddington,
Oh, that's right.
Paddington's a good pick.
Paddington.
and then I kind of think I forgot. Oh, and Sinners, maybe Sinners.
Well,
but I
they
don't know what
just
the
dropped
budget on
their
that
trailer,
is.
right?
Yeah.
Smaller budget. What about Mickey 17?
I thought that too, but I don't know what their budget is on. I mean,
But they
it's-
just dropped a new trailer for that too.
Yeah.
Yep, that's true as well.
What
So
about 28 days or 28 year? Is it years
28.
now? What is that
28
thing?
years later.
years,
Yeah.
I wonder if it's too small budget of
Okay.
a film to do it. I don't know. I'm just wondering if it's too small. I really like the How to Train Your Dragon one.
I do
though.
too.
I think that makes the
Yeah, I
most
think it's
sense.
really
For the
good.
same
They've got
reason
the
as-
money for it.
Yeah, they got the money for it. Same thing as the Lilo and Stitch thing. There's going to be a lot of parents watching that.
And Lilo.
Yeah, and of course
Definitely.
Lilo will be in there as well. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? It's getting more expensive every year. Now they're saying a 30-second spot at the Super Bowl may run you $8 million just for one spot. What movies do you think we're going to see trailers for at the big game? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Kraven the Hunter sucks. I mean, that's something we all know, and it
Breaking news.
breaking news.
I love when
Shocking discovery.
I love when you talk Craven to me.
And boy, did it flop. As a matter of fact, one of the stars of the film, Alessandro Nivola, who played Rhino in it, he's also in Brutalist, by the way. But he saw a headline. He quoted a headline online that said, "Brutalist out-earns Kraven the Hunter despite having almost 1,000 fewer theaters." So what the guy who played Rhino wrote on social media, should I quit, celebrate, or eat a gummy and chill?
See,
It's always C, buddy.
It's always C. Always C. But with that going around today about him talking about it, and Ricky Tiki Taki put out some comments about it as well, it brought up the question again. I had a few people write into me late last night about this. Now that the dust has kind of settled a little bit on what was an undeniable massive flop of Kraven the Hunter. Now that the dust has settled, and I believe it's out on VOD now, what does Sony do? What should Sony do with this property that has given us such cinematic classics as Madam Web,
yes,
Morbius, and of course, Kraven the Hunter?
They made a Madam Web movie?
can you believe it?
I missed that bit so much.
It didn't turn out that well.
Oh.
Yeah, it turns out they maybe shouldn't have.
You've been busy. We talked about it a little bit.
Maybe they should not have made it. But it brings up the question, what should they do? Because this is, whenever the topic of Sony now comes up online, that you will instantly see a debate about that breakout. Sony needs to buy back Spider-Man. Sony needs to sell Spider-Man. Sony needs to quit. Sony needs to double down. Like, you'll just see this massive debate and argument break out about what Sony should be doing at this point.
Burnable DVDs.
Yeah, more. Go back to making burnable DVDs. Don't stop. So it does raise the issue, though, right? Right now, they still have Beyond the Spider-Verse coming.
Mm-hmm.
And then they are going to make more. I remember there was that fake report that was going around that Sony decides to stop making things. No, they're not. That got debunked. They are going to make more, but they're just taking a bit of a breath right now as they kind of decide what direction to chart. Now, the way I see it, and maybe you guys can tell me what the other options are. There's a few things that they could do with it. There's certainly a popular opinion out there that they should give Spider-Man back to Marvel. Of course, nobody would do that. Nobody in their right mind, if they had the Spider-Man IP, would give it back to Marvel. And the price tag they'd want to sell it back for is a price tag probably that Marvel wouldn't be willing to pay. But we brought this up a little over a month ago, and I think we need to bring it up again. Before we start talking about what Sony should do with their whole Spider-Verse thing, there is a fact we all have to understand. Despite the perception, Sony's Spider-Verse films, starting from Venom to now, overall, have made them a lot of money. I know it doesn't feel like it, but it does. If we look at this chart, the total revenue, when you add up the films, now this is not taking Kraven into account, but we'll get to that in a second. When you take into account Venoms 1, 2, and 3, Into the Spider-Verse, Beyond the Spider-Verse, Madam Web, and Morbius, the 7 films, the total box office that those films combined have made is $3.18 billion. Their net revenue, after movie theaters keep their cut and everything, is $2.13 billion. The total production cost of all those movies was $711 million. Look, say what you want about Sony. One of the things that they do better than most other studios is they make their movies with reasonable budgets. So they never go crazy with their budgeting, at least not in these films. They've on average spent about $75 million per film, which comes out to about $525 million in marketing, which leaves them with a total profit of nearly $900 million of profit. And I know when you think of Madam Web and Morbius and Kraven, it's hard to imagine that they've been profitable with their overall Spider-Man enterprise. And we're not even talking about the Andrew Garfield movies or the Tobey Maguire movies. We're just talking about since Venom. Now, let's say they lost about $125 million with Kraven. Okay, they lost $125 million. That would still leave their profits at well over $700 million in profit. So before rushing to say Sony should just get rid of the Spider-Man stuff, don't forget they've made ridiculous bank. Oh, and also don't forget that they've made even more money when you take into consideration their arrangement with Marvel for Marvel to produce Spider-Man in the MCU, and they get to be the distributors and collect hefty checks from it. They're making money hand over fist with the Spider-Man stuff. They're not necessarily making the great stuff, but they're making a ton of money. So here's where I'm at, and it's not a good option. Then I want to hear what you guys think they should do. All right. Number one, you don't change anything. If I'm Sony, as far as business arrangements go, I don't change anything. The business arrangement, if I'm the head of Sony right now that I've got with Marvel, is ridiculously profitable. We're making money, and we don't even have to make good movies to do it. So I'm thinking I don't change anything. Why? But what I also do is I hire a Spider-Verse czar. This is what everybody says now, but I hire a Kevin Feige. I know that's the cliche thing to say, but I really mean it. Get in somebody to be the overall direction setter for the Spider-Verse stuff, whether it's in the Madam Web kind of realm, whether it's in the animated Beyond the Spider-Verse realm, or whether it's, whatever you want to do with it. Get somebody in that you trust to kind of oversee that and just put a little bit more damn effort. Because you know what the great thing about the movie business is? Doesn't matter how bad your last movie was, you can still make a good one next. You still can. And because if you're making money now, making some crappy movies, can you imagine the money you'll be making if you made them good? It's crazy. So yeah, Rob, my solution isn't exciting. It's keep everything the same. Just bring in somebody to oversee Spider-Verse and put more effort in making better films. I don't know, if you're the head of Sony right now, what do you do with the Spider-Verse?
There's one thing that people keep forgetting, that Nicolas Cage is starring as Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah, Spider-Man Noir's
Yeah,
coming
but
out.
that's on Amazon.
Right, but okay,
It's still Sony
It's
produced.
here's what I think they should do. The Snyderverse, Snyder, they got to get Zack Snyder. Give it to him.
Are you?
Let him
You're
go to Netflix. He's already got
I mean, I
a
was
deal
gonna
with
say
them.
that, but I was gonna
They're
be
already
joking.
doing Spider-Man Noir. Just give Zack Snyder a chance to go to Marvel and show us what he can do. After the great success of Army of the Dead, the 4 Rebel Moon movies. Come on now.
That's right. There are 4. I forgot about that.
He's just going to build off Spider-Man Noir. He's already got a deal with Netflix, and he just comes right in, and I don't have to listen to half of my Twitter feed yell and scream anymore.
If I walked into a Sony boardroom with
by
you
the
and
way,
you were like,
that's sarcastic.
"Dude, let me do the talking. I've got this," and you started saying that, I don't know if I would have ever spoken to you again.
No, but look, in all seriousness, I think you got to do what the Cylons do. You have a plan, and everybody needs a plan. And I think that what's interesting about these interlocking, the Morbius, Madam Web, and Kraven didn't really interlock.
Oh, at all.
You know, and that was odd to me because they're all supposed to be taking place in the same universe. But without a focal point, you have Spider-Man villains that aren't like the Kingpin is obsessed with Daredevil. Kingpin's also been a Spider-Man villain. But you know that when you have Kingpin, there's a reason why the two of these characters are spinning around in each other's orbits. With these spider villain films, they never came up with a unifying thrust that kind of made so if you saw one, you'd need to see the other. And I always thought that was odd. They always talk about, well, we're going to do the Sinister Six, and we're going to have all these different, but none of them had any. There was no reason other than, I mean, look, the Venom movies are fun.
I like the Venom movies. Yeah,
the
I
same
like
way
those.
I like Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. You know, they were fun movies. They're kind of brain dead, but they're fun, and I liked watching. Everybody who was making those movies had fun. But the Spider-Verse movies, they weren't fun. There was nothing about them. I wanted to like them. I wanted them to be fun. I wanted them to be engaging. But it felt, again, like there was no plan. Like, who decided to make a Madam Web movie? All jokes aside. In the Spider-Man pantheon of villains or characters, why that one? Who said, I've got an idea. We're going to make this movie.
Because the
Do you remember, though?
idea was taken.
Yeah. Do you remember, though, that it was about a year before the movie came out, a report came out that was totally wrong and totally false. But we batted around. This report came out that said what the movie might have been about, because we remember Madam Web takes place like 25 years in the past.
Right.
And like the idea was that there was a Spider-Man villain. It was going to kind of have a Terminator plot line where a Spider-Man villain goes back in time to try to kill Mary Parker to stop the birth of Spider-Man,
Right.
remember? And we were all like, I have no idea why they're making a Madam Web movie, but that could be good. They still could have made a good movie.
Yeah.
But instead we got Madam Web.
By the way, I would say this. I would say that Jonathan Hickman's recent run on Ultimate Spider-Man, where the future is changed, that storyline is dope.
It's awesome. It's
and they
really
could have
good.
Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire play that role, and it would work great. And I'm like, green light that.
I don't think they can make live action Spider-Man.
I know, but they
should.
should. I mean, that would be because it's a multiverse movie. That's what I've never understood. They could have made their own multiverse movie. They did a little bit of that. Venom tied in a little bit to the MCU. They could have done that Hickman run and made a multiverse Spider-Man movie that tied into the MCU. That would have been, if somebody had a plan.
I don't know. I don't know that Marvel would have agreed to it though.
They might not have, but it would have allowed Spider-Man to exist in a pocket part of the Spider Universe over at Sony that I think would only have bolstered their brand, because Marvel cannot be happy with 3 crappy movies.
I don't think Marvel's happy with it. I don't think DC's happy with it, because again, a lot of the general movie-going audience, Chris, we've talked about this a lot, is the fact that they just see comic book movies. They don't see the brand. They don't see the Sony brand. They don't see, a lot of them don't see the Marvel brand. They just went, there are 3 really crappy comic book movies. And I guarantee you neither Kevin Feige or James Gunn are happy about that, because it ultimately will hurt them as well. So, Chris, let's put it over to you. You are now the head of Sony,
Oh, good.
and you are now faced with this scenario. What do you do with your Spider-Verse at this point?
I mean, I think you guys have put it quite well. Rob's jokes aside, of you stay the course, but we're going to add a little fun flavor here. We're going to do something called trying.
It's this old school concept.
Pretty neat.
Old school idea.
I know. It's very try hard to try, but we're going to do it. And I know that sounds very flippant, and it's very difficult to make a movie. We talk about this all the time. Making a good movie is really hard.
It's
Making a
hard,
good
yeah.
piece of art is hard. Making a commercial success is hard. However, it feels like, especially since we've had so many people from Sony go, no, they're not bad movies. You guys didn't appreciate it. Let's maybe work on making a product that is actually great. And when we get feedback, when we have our customers, because we're in the movie making business, we're going to treat it like a business. We have our customers say, hey, these movies aren't good. Don't say, yes, they are, and try to gaslight us. Instead, go, hey, heard that feedback? This is what we're going to do in the future. We're going to streamline some of these things. We are going to make less of these movies. All the things they already say they are going to be doing, making less films, focusing on the quality instead of the quantity. These are all great things so that they can buckle down, work with incredible writers, work with the amazing IP they have at their hands so that they can make a better product. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to not be the poodoo they keep putting out.
Yeah. Go ahead,
I was just going to
Jonathan.
say, going off of that, does that mean you are just changing course of the ship, so you're just improving the quality, or is that like what WB did with DC, where it's a complete reboot? So you're changing ships.
But do they even have to reboot anything? Like Rob
I
was
know.
pointing out, right? Madam Web never
not as
tied into
cinematic, you're
Morbius.
right.
Yeah.
Morbius never tied into Kraven, right? So do you
not
even have to
unified.
reboot? Look. Somebody said in the live chat, "Listen to the fans." No, that's always that's number one. That's always a mistake. And number
Rob's
two,
idea of Zack Snyder.
I always laugh when somebody says, "Listen to the fans," because that pretends like the fans are all speaking in one unified voice.
They're not.
There's like 1,000 different messages coming from the fans and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, if they could like focus on just making, look, one of our viewers, Experimental Films 123, put in the chat there. It says step one. Stop hiring the Morbius and Madam Web writers. That's a good start.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That's a pretty good start. Stop doing that.
I
That'd be
want to
pretty
believe
cool.
everyone's capable of great change, but yes.
You know what I've been doing over the last couple of days as a sort of a therapeutic exercise? I've been typing into Chat GPT to write me a better story than Section 31's plot. And every single time it comes out with something brilliant. And I'm like, the world can be a better place. It can be a better place.
ChatGPT is giving you something brilliant.
Chat
Giving you
GPT
something brilliant.
Well, it's taking it from somebody else.
It
Remember?
might not be brilliant,
Okay.
but it's a lot better than what we got.
Well, now haven't you been keeping up with the news, Rob? Don't use ChatGPT. Go use DeepSeek.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
the
well,
thing.
yeah.
Don't
I
forget.
haven't-
You'll find that.
But I haven't. That's just because it's not on my browser history yet.
One thing's for sure though, they have to change because
What is
even
in your browser history?
I have nothing on my browser history I wouldn't be happy to share. There's a lot of videos of Japanese space models being.
I don't want. Okay, I was gonna say I don't want you to
Yeah,
finish
yeah,
that
yeah.
sentence.
No.
I'm so glad you did.
Like I watch every episode that Hachette puts out of the Partworks Space Battleship Yamato things, and there's
yeah.
hundreds of them now.
All right, Jonathan, what were you about to say?
just that, yes, they made $897 million in profit spread over 7 years. It's been boom and bust. If you average it out, it's still $128 million a year, but it's not sustainable because their bread and butter is what is the Spider-Verse animation, which is going to come to an end. And then they're hanging on the phone waiting for Marvel to say, we want another Tom
Well, and their
Spider-Man."
Venom films are
Yeah.
done. Like really, they've made their real money with the Venom
so they
films.
can't move forward with these types of, they've got to make a change.
Yeah, they have to make a pivot at some point. And you're right. The Sony CEO coming out and saying, no, our movies are actually good. Look, you're never going to convince me. You're never going to convince me that a group of movie studio executives sat down and watched an early cut of Madam Web and said, yes, our customers are going to love this. Or sat down and watched an early cut of Morbius and said, yes, now we're on to something. They all knew. And they were just like, whatever we lose, Venom, Spider-Verse, and our movies we're making with Marvel are going to make up for it.
By the way, this is something totally unrelated. Have you seen the trailer? You know how Sony PlayStation, we had Uncharted come out from them. They're going to do God of War. They have a movie coming out, a horror film that's based on.
Oh, yeah, we've talked about it.
Have you talked about it?
Oh, yeah. Until Dawn?
Until Dawn.
Get those people to make a
Well, we haven't
Spider-Verse.
seen the movie yet.
But it look,
Let's see if the movie's
that
any
trailer
good.
looks dope. I mean, come on, they got Wendigos in that. That if they space in the game, I was thinking when I watched that, I'm like, if they've got those people that can make a low budget movie that looks like that, admittedly,
Well,
haven't seen it, get them to take a shot,
The
a great
director
game.
also made Shazam 2: Fury of the Gods,
which I liked.
which I actually didn't mind either, but everybody else hated.
Yeah, but if
That's
you give him,
fun.
give him $200 million, give him $6 million, and see what he does. Make a low budget Spider-Man movie that maybe is good, and have ChatGPT write it.
All right, guys, the question is for you.
Gone to the dark side.
What do you think about this? And don't give me this brain dead. Just give it back to Marvel. No, that would be idiotic. If you were actually the head of Sony, what would you do? Like, hey, listen, sure, somebody can say, sell it back to Marvel for $10 billion. Okay, Marvel's not going to pay $10 billion. Marvel's not going to pay what it's worth because they don't need to, because they're still making the Spider-Man movies and making money from them anyway. So how would you approach it if you were the head of Sony? There's probably a lot of options we haven't considered yet. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, since we got the whole crew here, we thought this would be a good opportunity to play a little game of what's more likely. We got on our community tab on our YouTube channel a little bit earlier, and we asked our subscribers, hey, if you got some what's more likely questions for us, go ahead and fire them on in. Jonathan's got a few picked out.
Yep.
So, Jonathan, what do we got?
Okay, first we have Julian Crowhurst. So, John, what's more likely? We hear about the new Batman casting or James Bond casting first?
Both are such a mess. I mean, on the James Bond side, you've got the head of the James Bond IP, Barbara Broccoli, speaking of the studio who has the movie rights, that they're a bunch of idiots. They don't like each other. They're not talking to each other. So that's tough. On the other side, there's clearly a breakdown in communication between James Gunn and who's the director who did The Flash?
Andy
Muschietti.
Andy
Muschietti.
Muschietti. And Andy Muschietti is coming saying, yeah, well, we're delayed our Batman, Brave and the Bold movie. And James Gunn saying, no, we're not. And that's what's going to happen when the head of your studio is also trying to direct a movie at the same time. I don't think we're going to hear any really soon, but I think we're going to get the Batman one first. I think we're going to get the Batman casting first. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the Batman casting's already been decided.
Yeah.
At this point. So I don't know. Which one do you think is more likely?
Oh, Batman, absolutely. The Broccoli's are fed up with how the James Bond franchise is being treated. That has been so messy. We've talked about that ad nauseum. That's going to take a while for them to get their poop in a group.
No, it's Jake Gyllenhaal. So that's who it is.
They're like, you know what?
I
Let's
already know
shake
the
it up.
casting. I'm dropping
American
it now.
James Bond. That'll make everyone thrilled.
No, I was talking about Batman.
Oh, okay.
Batman.
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal wouldn't be a bad Batman. Rob, which comes first? The Batman cast? Or
I
the new
think
James
Batman,
Bond casting?
absolutely, because the biggest problem is they don't know what James Bond is moving forward. What is the franchise going to look like? What does a character like Bond look like now? How do you make it relevant to the middle half, going into the middle half of the 21st century, whereas we know who Batman is? So I think it's just a matter of, like James Gunn said, when we have a script, it's already in development. They already know what's going on. They're either going to make a Brave and the Bold movie or a Batman movie. I think it's Batman all the way.
All right. What's next?
All right, we got Godzilla fans. So, Rob, what's more likely, Blade coming out or Ezra Miller making a comeback in Hollywood?
Oh.
I had to stop and think.
Yeah.
Wow. We have to pick one. I think that I'm gonna pick Ezra Miller.
Really? You think Ezra Miller
don't
making a
call
comeback?
it a comeback. I think that, look, obviously he went through, if Robert Downey Jr. can go from being as troubled as he was, waking up in strange people's beds and having his addiction issues, and turning into not only the anchor being of an entire franchise, I think that Ezra Miller, because look, remember, Ezra Miller had a great career doing a lot of really wonderful indie roles. I keep thinking of things like Perks of Being a Wallflower. I think of
We need to talk about
Kevin,
Kevin.
which is scary AF.
But now, how much of that was acting?
Well,
It's actually a documentary.
touche. But then again, the question was asked about him and Blade. So I'm just saying, in this particular instance, I think that Ezra Miller
Making a comeback is more likely.
likely than Blade.
All right, Chris, which more likely? A Blade movie actually comes out or Ezra Miller makes a comeback?
Ezra Miller in Blade.
Ezra Miller in Blade. Ezra Miller is Blade. Yeah, there it is. I want to say Blade. I want to say Blade mostly because I want that movie, and also because Ezra Miller is a tremendous performer. Don't think there should be a comeback, but we've seen people who have done equally egregious or worse things have their careers revived. So, just because I only want it to be true, I'm going to go with Blade.
There you go.
I want to say, because look, you know what people love? They love a comeback story.
Yeah.
Kim Kardashian.
I knew you were going to do it.
I couldn't resist. But it's true. People love a comeback story. But you know what the difference is between the Robert Downey Jr. situation and a lot of the situations you're referring to, Chris, there was something particularly creepy about all the stuff that was coming out about, right or wrong, fair or unfair. Okay. But there was something particularly disturbing and kind of creepy, maybe not as egregious, but just creepy.
Yeah.
About the stuff that, we kept reading about in the months and year leading up to Flash coming out. And I just don't know if there's a studio or a producer who's putting up money for a movie, if the director comes and says, I'd like to put Ezra Miller in it, that the financier is going to go, okay. I actually think there's a better chance that Blade comes out. So I'm going to personally go with Blade. All right, what's next?
All right, next up we've got Nathaniel. So, Chris, it's more likely the Odyssey or Dune Messiah makes one Billy.
Ooh. Oh, man. Okay, well, obviously the Dune films are very well received by the majority of people, but Dune Messiah is one of the funkier kind of stories, according to you, John.
It ain't happy.
It's not a fun one.
No.
I just also think the Odyssey, you've got such a great cast, you have such a great director. What a truly epic story. I'm going to go Odyssey just because of the novelty of everything surrounding it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Odyssey. I mean, now remember, we're not asking which movie do we think will be better, which one has a better chance of being a billion.
Yeah.
And I said this before Dune 2 came out. And when I told people, do not expect Dune 2 to be $1 billion film. This is a movie that's not a 4-quadrant for everybody, fun, sci-fi, explosion, action kind of, it's Dune isn't for everybody. And because of that, even though Dune Part 2 made over $700 million, I don't think there's a chance. Whereas Christopher Nolan films, I mean, I know Oppenheimer didn't make $1 billion, but it made over $900 million. Mm-hmm. It got close. So I'm not sure either one will be $1 billion film, but I think Odyssey has the higher chance of being $1 billion film. Rob?
100%. I mean, and I'm still unclear, like, it's Homer's The Odyssey. Is it a period piece? Is it like Troy? I mean, Troy, is it like what Homer wrote about? Or is it a euphemistically, metaphorically, more of a modern take?
Like Claire Danes' Romeo and Juliet was?
Or something like that.
Or like Chaos on Netflix.
Ian McKellen's Richard III
example.
or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't know.
No.
And when I heard it, because look, I like Troy. And Troy comes out of that same, era, the same thing. I mean, are we going to have that? I don't know. And I'm curious. I want to see what Christopher Nolan does. Because, the thing about him is people said, why do you want to make a Dunkirk movie? And the Warner Brothers executive was like, okay, we'll let you do it. Cut to, it makes $500 million.
Yeah.
He can't, the Prestige, Inception. I mean, whenever he does these things, I'm like, what is that? He usually has yes, people, it's a triumph.
I think he'll make it period accurate. I do. Because like Chris was pointing out, like they just did a trope like that with, what was the name
Chaos.
of it? With Chaos.
Yeah.
And they didn't just do it, but they've already done it with Romeo and Juliet. So I think it'll probably be period accurate.
Yeah, I'm curious. I don't know. Because with the cast, it's just an interesting cast.
It's a
They're not
great
going
cast.
European. They're not going,
All right. What's next? What's this, our fourth one?
Yeah.
What's next?
All right. So from Cal Mountain, John, what's more likely, Pirates of the Caribbean 6 or Mission Impossible 9?
Oh, that's a really good question. Mm-hmm. Because I think I just said the other day on the show that I don't think Tom Cruise is going to make another Mission Impossible movie after this one. Mm-hmm. Like, he is in his 60s now. he's got his dance card is already getting kind of full. Like he's got a number of projects lined up already. And I think this might be, I mean, the title of it is Final Reckoning. I have a feeling this might be his last one. I'm sure there will be another Mission Impossible movie, but I don't know if it'll be Mission Impossible 9. As far as Pirates 6 goes, no. I mean, look, I can see Disney reviving the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. They've already talked that they've been looking at ways to do it. I could see that. But a proper Pirates 6 movie with Johnny Depp and stuff like that, I don't think Disney has any interest in working with Johnny Depp again. And I think, here's the thing that everybody forgets. I think Disney lost all interest in working with Johnny Depp anymore before the Amber Heard stuff. Like even before the Amber Heard stuff, all the other stuff that comes along with working with Johnny Depp, I think they just decided they didn't want to work with him again. Mm-hmm. I'd be down for a Pirates 6, but I don't think there's oh God, Mission Impossible 9. I think Mission Impossible 9 is more likely. Rob, what do you think?
I don't know, man. It could be the Rocky Balboa of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, with that number 6 slotted right in. I'm going to go with Pirates only because it's kind of in active development, where I think that these Mission Impossible movies, I mean, there's been 8 of them over the course of 30 years. Maybe it's time to retire for a while. I'm going to go with Pirates 6.
All right, Chris?
I would go with Pirates because it can still be kind of a spiritual successor, passing of the torch thing with a couple of those characters. It'll still make it part of that franchise.
So semantically, it'll be called Pirates 6.
Yes, and we'll see some of the OG cast.
Yeah. Like maybe Orlando Bloom.
Yes.
But just no Johnny Depp.
Because it's not Jack Sparrow and the Pirates of the Caribbean. It's Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Right. That's why I think they might do a reboot or something. But okay. I'll take that. All right. What's next?
All right. From
Is this the last one?
Yeah.
All
From
right.
Cody Martin, back to you, Rob. What's more likely, Avatar 3 becomes the highest grossing of the trilogy or makes the least of the trilogy?
Oh, I would go say, because it seems to be the title alone, Fire and Ash.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some great big shenanigans happening. You've got Na'vi at each other's throats. Maybe. I don't know. I think that they're going to up their game because that's what James Cameron does. I think it's going to be, I'm going to go with Avatar.
Chris?
I think this third Avatar is going to lose. I think it's a downward slope for me. So I'd go the other film.
Yeah, look, when you look it up, Avatar: The Way of Water made several $100 million less than the first Avatar did. It still made $2.3 billion. I mean, it's still that is the rarest of the rare of clubs in box office. It's the $2 billion club. I think there's 5 members of it or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But I have to agree. I think it's going to be less. I think it has, and we're talking about a movie that could make $2 billion and be the lowest grossing of its franchise.
Total disappointment.
A total flop, totally failed.
I think it could do more than Way of Water, but less than the first.
Could be the Return of the King, man, of the Avatar film.
I mean, it could. It's just the fact that the first 2 movies, the amount of money that this franchise has made is so astronomical that this isn't like asking about an average new movie in an average franchise. Could this be the biggest grossing one? Because you're talking about it not in terms of will this new movie be the highest grossing of the franchise. You are literally asking the question, will this be the highest grossing movie of all time? Because that's what you got to be the highest of the franchise, right? You have to literally be the highest grossing movie in the history of cinema. I think there is a better chance that it does incredibly well and makes tons of money, but becomes the least. Again, I agree with Jonathan. I think the reality is in between. I think it makes less than Avatar, more than Avatar 2. But if I had to say which one I think is more likely, I think it's more likely that it makes the least of the 3 than the most. I don't know. Anyway, guys, that'll do it for our little installment of What's More Likely. Thank you to all you guys who participated and sent in those questions. Keep an eye, by the way, guys, if you're a subscriber of our channel, and you should be subscribed to our channel, keep an eye on our community tab because we put out those questions every once in a while. And thank you to everybody who participated and sent in questions. All right. With that down, guys, it's time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick moment and thank the sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Kikoff. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Kikoff. January always feels like recovery mode, doesn't it? I mean, after all the holiday fun and, let's be honest, all the holiday spending, it can feel like a credit hangover. But don't worry, I've got the perfect solution to help you bounce back in 2025. Kikoff, the #1 credit building app in the App Store. Kikoff is a total game changer if you're looking to start building or improving your credit. Their plans? They start at just $5 a month. No credit check, no hidden fees, and no interest. Everybody's been there, guys. Trying to navigate credit can feel like a maze, but Kikoff makes it easy. You can sign up in minutes on your phone and be instantly set up with a credit line designed specifically for building credit, not for spending. And here's a fun fact. If your credit's under 600, you could jump around 28 points in your first month. It's that simple. Shake off the credit hangover and look forward to brighter credit with Kikoff. Get your first month for just $1 at getkikoff.com/Campea today. That's getkikoff, KIKOFF.com/Campea. Must sign up via kikoff.com/Campea to activate offer. Offer applies to new customers first month only. Subject to approval. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions may apply. Points out based on Equifax VantageScore 3.0 changes for Kikoff users starting under 600 who made their first on-time payment between January 2021 and March 2024. Payment and credit activity outside of Kikoff can have an impact on your credit. Individual results may vary. And thank you to our friends at Kikoff for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to your comments and questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
We got Dan the Fan. Hey, John, just wanted to ask some filthy sports. I really enjoyed it. I was hoping to get your take on the shocking and surprising Super Bowl matchup. The Eagles could be the start and ending of the Chiefs three-peat. That's how you feel.
I have already put money on that's what's going to happen. Like I was saying this the other day, and I'll keep the sports talk short, but even before the Bills-Chiefs game this past weekend, which I was completely rooting for the Chiefs or for the Bills. I was cheering for the Bills. But I said to my buddy before the game even started, I said, the reality is this game is almost pointless because stylistically and matchup-wise, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to kick the living shit out of either the Bills or the Chiefs. Neither the Bills nor the Chiefs match up well against the Eagles. So I said before the game even started, this game is just kind of, yay, we won the AFC. But yeah, I will be shocked because the Eagles are so strong and they're so powerful. And you know what? Here's the thing. The Chiefs couldn't stop Cook from running on them. What the hell do you think Saquon Barkley is going to do to them? What do you think Philadelphia's defensive line and offensive line, who are just bigger, stronger, more powerful, and better? Anything can happen any given Sunday. Anything can happen. But if I had to put money on it, and I have already, the Eagles are going to beat the living hell. I don't even think it's going to be close. I said this before, I think by the time there's 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, I think the game's already over. So that's how I think it's going to happen. But you never know. Anything can happen. All right, what's next?
Okay, Thanos was right. Says, hey, crew, hope the day is going well. So I agree with Anthony Mackie. Cap doesn't represent any politics, despite what the diaper wearers cry about. He represents what used to be the traits of America aspired to hold. Cap would be very disappointed if he was real.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the thing, right? Like in the MCU already, even Chris Evans as Captain America often rebelled against the American government to do what he felt was right. Right? Captain America does not represent America. He represents the ideals that America should aspire to. And here's the thing. I said this last night, Jonathan, when I did an open mic. Mm-hmm. Here's the truth about it. Nobody misunderstood what Anthony Mackie was saying. They just made up fake manufactured rage. Because they're not that stupid.
They wanted to spread what they wanted to say. They want,
Yeah, they all knew. Everybody who complained about what Anthony Mackie said, they all totally knew exactly what it was Anthony Mackie was saying and what exactly he meant by it. They all knew it. They just made up this fake manufactured rage to do virtue signaling and do manufactured outrage. Oh! And they all made up that, they're very insincere and conniving, but they're not that dumb. I know they're intelligent enough to tie their own shoes. So everybody who complained about what Anthony Mackie said knew exactly what he was saying and just made up fake rage because nobody's that dumb. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Amin says, quick correction, the DGA and the Academy's directors branch have different memberships. The DGA has over 19,500 members, while the directors branch has about 560. The directors branch of the Academy. Academy directors are likely in the DGA, yeah, but not all DGA members.
No, and I never said they were. You got it on the last part there, right? That the members of the directors branch are all DGA members.
Yeah.
Or at least the vast majority of them are DGA members. I never once suggested that every member of the DGA is in the Academy, nor that every member of SAG is in the Academy, or that every member of the WGA is in the Academy.
No, because you'd have tens of thousands of Academy voters.
The Academy's around 7,000 or 8,000 members right now across all the disciplines: producers, writers, musicians, directors, so on and so on and so on. Right? So yeah, I was never suggesting that every member in the DGA is in it. I was simply pointing out that the members of the directors branch of the Academy, they're DGA members. So anyway, yeah. All right, what's next?
Goes on to say the same applies to WGA, which was around 20,000 members. Academy Writers Branch has 500. Dune 2 received a WGA nomination, but not the Oscar nom. Guild nominations typically overlap with the Oscars about 3 to 5 or 4 out of 5 each year.
Yeah, again, which is why it was surprising that the DGA voted Ben Affleck as Best Director of the year that Argo came out.
But not even nominating it.
And then the DGA members who are part of the Academy branch didn't even nominate Ben Affleck, which is crazy.
Which was like, that shows that the overwhelming majority of the ones that branched over to the Academy were ones that did not vote for it. They got like the lion's share.
That is such a mathematical irregularity.
Right.
Anyways, it was just really crazy. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Javens with a two-parter. What if the X-Men handles a group of mutants at a time in each film? For example, the Mutants Wolverine could have him and Sabretooth. The Mutants Cyclops could have Jean Grey and Beast. Magneto could also have Xavier. The Mutants Storm with Black Panther, they would have to add a few more characters that would differentiate it from the Foxverse movies. Then that could lead to an Avengers-like X-Men movie, and eventually have Avengers versus X-Men. I think that was along Rob's point, where it wouldn't be a boring Cyclops. Not that he's boring, but it wouldn't just be Cyclops, but it'd be Cyclops and the people that he's involved with.
Yeah, we talked about this on open mic last night.
Yeah.
I think our topic of discussion was, do you lead off with solo movies? And no movie is a true solo movie. There's always more than one character in a movie, unless you're Ryan Reynolds' Buried, in which case there was only one character in the movie. But do you start off with solo movies, you lead out with X-Men? To sum up my overall thought of it from last night is simply this. I don't think you're going to get an audience interested in a Cyclops movie without introducing Cyclops in an X-Men movie first. I don't think you're going to have people interested in a Morph and Jubilee movie. I just don't think you're going to get the audience involved. Now, Rob raised a really good point yesterday when he said, well, look, when they started the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they started with Iron Man, who may be super popular today, but when they made the Iron Man movie, he wasn't that popular of a character. And that was a very fair point to raise. What I would say to that, though, is Marvel didn't have any other choice. Because if you're going to start your Marvel Cinematic Universe, we'll start with your most popular character, Spider-Man. Oh, we can't because we don't have the rights to Spider-Man. Okay, your second most popular character, Wolverine. Oh, we can't. We don't have the rights to Wolverine. And we don't have the rights to this and this and this and this. So really, they only had Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and Hulk. That's all they had. So they had to kick off with those. They didn't have any other choice, really. So they went from there. Also, when they launched the MCU, they were literally starting a brand new cinematic universe. X-Men isn't starting a brand new cinematic universe. The general audience knows the X-Men as X-Men. They don't know them as a Storm solo and a Morph solo and a Jubilee solo and a Bishop solo and a Jean Grey solo and a Emma Frost solo and it wouldn't work. I think you'd have to do it the opposite of the Avengers. You do what George Miller was going to do with Justice League. You start with X-Men because that's the name that gets everybody. That's the name that has brand recognition. That's the name the audiences know. You start with an X-Men movie and then you can do some solo films after that. Anyway, we'll see how they decide to do it. What's next?
Okay, Dwarfer UK, movies that are 10, 20, 30, and 40 years old this year. Going for 10, Spectre, Fast 7, Age of Ultron. 20 years is Constantine, Batman. I can't believe I saw Batman Begins 20
years ago. That's wild.
Wedding Crashers.
Wow.
I know. 30 would be Outbreak.
Outbreak? That's the one with Rene Russo and...
Yeah, that was...
Oh my God, that was 30 years. That's a good movie, man. Outbreak is really good.
That was like 95.
Yeah.
Bad Boys and GoldenEye. And then 40 would be Back to the Future.
Yeah, Outbreak, that's a movie that doesn't get enough appreciation. With Tootsie.
Oh, are you talking about the actor?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Now, of course, I can't
iconic,
think of it.
legendary Hoffman.
Yeah.
What's Hoffman's first name? Why am I freezing out? Dustin Hoffman. Yeah, that Outbreak. Man, that's such a good movie, dude. I remember watching that for the first time, and it like made me obsessed with washing my hands for a while. It's such a good movie, and yeah, Morgan Freeman was in it.
Yep.
It's a good one. All right, what's next?
All right. Chef Lamb. Hey, John, wanted to support the show, so here's a quick question. What are some of your favorite underrated movies by your favorite directors? For me, The Abyss by James Cameron and Hudsucker Proxy by the Coen brothers.
The Abyss by James Cameron's a great one. The ultimate answer to that question about like most underrated by my favorite director, Amistad.
See, mine's the same director as yours, but it's Empire of the Sun.
Right, both by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
I actually, Amistad may be my favorite Steven Spielberg film. I absolutely love that movie, and I bring, you know, a lot of times I bring it up and people don't even know that's a Steven Spielberg movie. Empire of the Sun's another one. You know, when you think about the catalog of Steven Spielberg films, and you think Jaws and E.T. and Close Encounters and whatever 20 films of his have been nominated for Best Picture, that one doesn't come up a lot. So that's a good one too. All right. What's next?
Save Legends of Tomorrow says WWE Raw's numbers on Netflix have halved since it debuted, according to reports. That can't be good news. Should WWE have taken a page out of their main competitor AEW book and tried to get a TV and streaming simulcast deal? Yes, traditional TV is dying, but it's obvious streaming hasn't replaced it. For example, AEW's flagship show Dynamite is still the most watched on TBS, yet while drawing solid viewership on Max, it hasn't cracked the top 10 there yet.
Yeah, but here's the problem. When you can throw out a very shocking sounding phrase like dropped in half. But dropped in half from what? It dropped in half from record-setting numbers. And remember, we talked about this before it debuted on Netflix. We said it'll drop in its second week because this was the first week they were doing it. The numbers are going to be astronomical. Everybody's going to be curious to check it out.
Right.
And, you know, it was treated more like a WrestleMania than it was like a Raw.
Yeah.
The numbers are still very good. See, the first premiere numbers are not the numbers you start with and build from. It's weeks 2, 3, and 4. Those are your numbers that you're starting with, really, and then you build from there. And the numbers are still very strong for Monday Night Raw. It's still very good. So, no, I don't think they're second guessing there. Now, let's talk again in 3 or 4 months. Because my hypothesis is that, okay, you had your big peak, then it's going to get to its regular level, and then they start growing from there. Now, if what happens instead is they come down to this level and then it starts dropping more, well, then we can have the discussion again. But right now, I think they're exactly where they thought they were going to be. All right, what's next?
We got Big Daddy T. Hi, John. Regarding HBO Harry Potter. For the first series of films, J.K. Rowling had an adamant rule that all actors should be English except foreign characters. I heard you give names of U.S. actors for the TV series. Has she changed her mind?
I don't think she has the same influence over that as she used to. And I don't think she's trying to assert that same kind of micromanaging control. Listen, she used to be extreme micromanagement control over every detail of anything that had the Harry Potter name on it. Right down to at Universal Studios Hollywood, in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, their Harry Potter Land, which, by the way, is insane. If you guys have not been to a Harry Potter Land at Universal Studios, it is jaw-droppingly immersive. Like, I like Star Wars Land, Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland. I do. I like it. I think it's really quite good. But it's nothing compared when you walk into the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal Studios, and I'm not a Potterhead, but you feel like you are in the movie. You feel like you are actually in the movieverse there. It's incredible. But JK used to like right down to the details of how many slats should be on the doors. How far should this table be from this? Like, she used to be so incredibly micromanaging of it. I think now, though, I think Warner Brothers has agreed, we'll make more stuff, but you're going to have to give up some of the creative control. Like, you can object overall major directions, make sure we're staying true to the books and stuff like that. But I think they're going to she's going to give up some of that control. She still have overall thing, but I don't think she's going to micromanage nearly as much. And I think that'll include the casting. All right, what's next?
Gregor says, hey, John, I know you're excited for Mickey 17. He always puts social commentary into his films. With Mickey being disposable, I expect this is a statement on AI and art, reducing creative individuals or interchangeable parts in a larger machine. Thoughts?
You got to remember, they also kind of addressed this a little while ago with Sam Rockwell in Moon, right? I think there's a lot of observations and commentary that can be made, and all good art has observation and commentary, like all good art does. It doesn't necessarily have to be those ones. Those are absolutely up there about, the how automation, how technology may be replaced, how we now become the exchangeable commodity. That's an obvious one, but I got a feeling he might go for something a little bit more unexpected than that. Either way, the movie looks incredible to me, and I can't wait to see it. All right, what's next?
We got Sven, who says, hey, John and crew, good fellow Canadian kid here. My buddies and I are doing our yearly rewatch of Lord of the Rings, watching Two Towers this Saturday. What would you say are some of your favorite scenes or moments from this epic trilogy?
Oh, I think we talk about them all the time, right? I mean, my absolute favorite moment that gives me the most chills, and I can feel my bottom lip quiver because I feel like I might start crying, is at the end of Return of the King when he comes to the hobbits on Gondor and he says, my friends, you bow to no one. And then all of Middle Earth bows down to these four hobbits. I get emotionally moved every time. One of the greatest chest-pounding Gur moments in history is when Strider runs into the room and yells, the torches have been lit, Gondor calls for age, and Theoden says, and Rohan will answer. It's one of the greatest scenes I've ever seen.
And following the lighting of the thing,
with just the lighting of the torches themselves is inspiring.
I love the last march of the Ents.
Yeah, it's one of the single greatest achievements in film history is Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. So I literally could sit here for the next hour talking about all my favorite scenes. All right, what's next?
All right, here comes the Sundin. Says, hi, John, Avengers are separate heroes that came together, while X-Men is a team that occasionally have separate stories. The only individual story I can see is Xavier and Magneto to show their friendship and eventual breakup, having foundation for X-Men. But they did that in First Class so fairly recently.
Yeah, they've already done it. And even then, again, following what they did before, you had X-Men first, and then they told the backstory of Magneto and Charles. I think you have to do the same thing here. I don't think if you just launch with a Magneto and Charles movie set in the 1970s, 1980s, I don't think it does as well than if you launch with an X-Men film first, and then somewhere down the road you do where Charles and thing came from. So yeah, that's the way I kind of see it. Again, they may go in any number of directions, but I just don't think they'll do that. I could be wrong. We'll see. All right, what's next?
Tom says, I'm watching the 48 Superman serial with Kirk Allen, and his father says, because of your great powers, you have great responsibility. J. Jonah Jameson was right. Spider-Man is a thief. All kidding aside, the serial is a lot of fun.
I've never watched, I've seen clips of it on YouTube and stuff like that, but I mean, obviously it was well before my time. I think it was before my dad's time. Have you ever watched any of that?
Parts, but not like through.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
We got Matan, who says, my complaint yesterday was about the wait for X-Men, but every glimpse of mutants we got so far was Fox nostalgia. We got a Wolverine that already got his send-off in a yellow suit, so we would feel something instead of a new one.
But it's more than that. I think you're oversimplifying the Wolverine thing, because for years and years and years, people have been waiting for Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman to do Deadpool and that Wolverine. And that's just the movie everybody was wanting to see for years. It wasn't a Deadpool and Wolverine they wanted to see. They wanted to see a Ryan Reynolds Deadpool and a Hugh Jackman Wolverine, with all the years of their faux online rivalry and all the years and the jokes done in the first couple of Deadpool movies. I mean, they were not introducing X-Men through Deadpool and Wolverine, right? Remember, before that, we already saw Beast at the end of the Marvels. We've already got the mention of Ms. Marvel being a mutant with even the X-Men music playing behind it. He says, "You're a mutation?" Remember that?
Yep.
Like, they've already started teasing with all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't wrap too much thought around the fact of what they did with Wolverine. Listen, Kevin Feige said it's going to be at least 5 years. We're right at that mark now. They're starting the process of that. So I wouldn't really read into anything they're doing with them right now. All right, what's next?
We got David. If the Academy has a Best Animated Feature category, then there should also be a Best Live Action Feature category. But unfortunately, they treat Best Picture as such most years.
Well, no, because listen, they have a lot of subcategories, right? They have Best Foreign Language Film. That also qualifies for overall Best Picture. They have Best Animated. So they tend to sliver out these niches to recognize best in that subcategory. Again, I don't think animation should have one, because to me, it's the ultimate form of disrespect to animation. It really is. Now, I understand Best Foreign Language Film, because those are films that really do not get any attention for the most part in North America, right? So to create a category for that, to give it the attention they deserve, I can understand that. Everybody knows the animated films. They are amongst the highest grossing box office films every year. They're amongst the highest grossing, some animated films are amongst the highest critically rated films every year. The very creation of the Best Animated category was an insult to animation, because they created it as a kiddie table. They created the animation category not to respect animation, but to disrespect it. They're saying, well, people, again, we would talk for years. There was a stretch of 6 out of 8 years where the number one critically rated film of the years were animated films, and none of those years did they get nominated for Best Picture, even a nomination for Best Picture. So what'd they do? They created a Best Animated category. See, there you go. Give it a little pat on the head. See, there you go. You've got your own little category. Here's your kiddie table. And they created it as an excuse not to acknowledge animated films in the Best Picture category. And so no, you don't need a Best Live Action category. You don't need that at all. I just think they should get rid of the Best Animated category and give it some damn respect. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Tony P says Steve Rogers was not chosen to be Captain America because Steve was chosen to be a test subject for the Super Soldier Serum. The Captain America persona was created afterwards.
Well,
yes and no.
No, yeah, yes and no. You're using the semantics of the actual name. He was created to be the super soldier. Now, they then gave him the name Captain America, but he was chosen to be Captain America, even though the name Captain America wasn't ascribed to it yet. He wasn't chosen just to be a test subject. He was chosen to be America's super soldier. And that's why it was very important. Because if it was just a test subject, then Stanley Tucci's character wouldn't have cared about the character and the morality and the virtues.
And that's why he slipped him in, because he couldn't get in.
Exactly. Otherwise, they just would have gone with the big muscle head.
Yeah.
If all it was just we're selecting a test subject. No. Stanley Tucci's character knew we are creating America's super soldier. And it was important to him that that person be someone of character, of virtue, of honor, of nobility. And he saw that in Steve Rogers. So yes, Steve Rogers was picked to be Captain America. They just didn't know the name yet. All right, what's next?
We got Tron, who says Patel Pelek, who oversaw all the Spidey spinoffs, left the studio last month.
Yep, Sony guy, yep.
Yeah, if Sony's serious about this universe, they need to a creative producer overseeing it for it to work. Making films just to hold on to these rights, such a cynical mindset.
Yeah, no, I think they need, look, they're not wrong. They're clearly not wrong. And they think, if we put out some bad movies, it doesn't really affect us. That is a cynical way of looking at it, but that doesn't mean it was wrong. They were right. But I'm hoping that the new leadership there will look at this and say, you know what? We've put out some good stuff. They have. Venom, Into the Spider-Verse, Cross the Spider-Verse. We've put out some good stuff, but man, you know what? How successful can we be if we actually elevated the quality of our output? We'll keep the budgets rational, but maybe let's not hire the same writers who directed Madam Web and directed Morbius.
You also have stock owners complaining.
Yeah,
about that.
So could do. We're doing okay.
Why are we buying
do
the
better?
stock?
We could do better. And so here's hoping that the new chief brings a new mindset. All right, what's next?
Drew Taylor says, "Hey, John, Magazine Dreams looks like a potential award-winning performance. Too bad he probably won't get any good press or a fair shake. Even still, I keep hearing industry people say he could potentially win an Oscar. What do you think?"
I mean, you could say that about any performance at any time.
It's hard to say what the future holds.
Yeah. Listen, Jonathan Majors is a tremendous talent. I mean, just whatever you may think about anything else, Jonathan Majors is a tremendous talent. I also think that he will absolutely be given a fair shake. Now, look, yes, was Jonathan Majors found guilty of a couple of the charges? Yes, but what people need to remember, because people hear he was found guilty.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh."
Yep, and that's true. He was found guilty. But he was found guilty on only a couple of the charges and was acquitted on the other ones. But here's the most important thing, and I did an entire editorial video about this. The charges that he was found guilty on were the most minor of the charges. Specifically, charges that suggested that he was found guilty of inadvertently causing harm. He was found innocent of the charges that say he intentionally caused harm. And I think that's a very important distinction, that the law held him accountable for his actions, intended or not, and that's important. And he got publicly humiliated and he lost a lot of money and he's paid a price. But it's important to remember that the things that the court and the jury found him guilty of was the things that he unintentionally did. Like the jury didn't believe he ever intended to harm anybody, but he was reckless. And in his recklessness, he caused harm to somebody. But it was from recklessness, not intent. A jury heard all the evidence and all the testimony and said, yes, he's responsible for his actions, but we don't believe that his actions were meant to harm anybody or that he was intending to harm anybody. He was just reckless. So I think people need to understand that, and I think people will. So listen, I think if his performance in Magazine Dreams is good enough to warrant an Oscar nomination, and we don't really know if it is. I'm sure it'll be good because he's Jonathan Majors and he's a great actor, but that doesn't mean it's going to be a top 5 best performance of the year. But if it is, I think he'll get his due. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Cole says a potential trailer for the Super Bowl that a lot of people are overlooking is Tron Ares. It's big budget enough to warrant it, and a lot of people probably don't know it's coming out. Besides, it would grab attention with 30 seconds because of its visual. The problem is it's not out till October.
Again, I don't know that that's as important when you're talking about a Super Bowl, right? Like, it's too early to roll out a trailer normally for Tron Ares. But is it too early? I think you got to extend a few more months on that window when it's Super Bowl. Yeah. Like, Super Bowl is just a little bit of a different thing. So you're March, April, May, June, July, August, September. So 8 months away.
But do they have footage, the finished footage to do with, I don't know.
I mean, listen, we were still in the old studio when they were filming this movie.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Here's my one reason why I'll say it's not impossible for it to have a trailer there, but why I doubt it. I don't know that the Super Bowl audience is going to be one that will necessarily be excited by a Tron Ares.
That's why someone said Snow White, and that would seem perfect, but I don't think the audience
I don't think that's the right audience. It's not a kid enough movie like an animated one to appeal to families. So it's possible, but I doubt it. I have my doubts. All right, what's next?
We got The Tick, who says, I don't envy marketing teams to get a spot at the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl owl.
The superb owl.
The superb owl. Even if when I'm looking at it, I still have to say it the other way. Spend $16 million for a 60 to 90 second slot to get the most eyes on it, hoping it gets a positive response, or $8 million for a 30-second to get enough traffic to YouTube in 24 hours, which could be a small percentage.
Maybe, yeah. It's a gamble.
Yeah.
I mean, the marketing of a movie is much like making a movie itself. Financially, it's a gamble. You're taking a risk. You're rolling the dice. You're making a bet. And it's the same thing, if not more imperative, when you're spending your marketing dollars, because you want to make sure it goes to where it's going to have its biggest impact. And if you put the lion's share of your marketing money towards one thing and it doesn't move the needle, man, that can really put you back. So it's a big risk. But here's the thing. There's also big potential reward with putting it out during a Super Bowl. So we'll see what works and what doesn't.
All right, here's
what's
our
next?
final tip. Annie, are you okay? Says, if I were the people behind the Michael biopic, I would have shown during the Super Bowl the movie version of MJ's Super Bowl halftime show back in the day. That was epic. Kind of like Bohemian Rhapsody film Live Aid concert, but might not get anything at all now.
Well, no, number one, I would not do that. If you're going to spend $8 million to advertise a movie, advertise the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Don't show like random footage from something else and say, Michael Jackson. Well, yeah, we know Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Why should we go see this movie? You got to show them something from the movie to convince them to do that. So, but yeah, if you had asked me a few weeks ago, I would have absolutely believed we were going to get a Michael Jackson trailer at the Super Bowl. 100%. I would have thought that. But with all the reports coming out now, with them having to maybe do major reshoots and whatever because of a legality that they forgot about.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it won't, but I'm just going to say I'll be really surprised if we get a Michael Jackson trailer now. I think we probably won't now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What do we got next?
Okay, we got some member questions here. Guys, if you are members, just a reminder, we make a post every day that the members can see asking for questions, and you can put them there. It's a social post on YouTube. The first up would be King Daddy Goat. Hey, crew. Hope you're well today. I just wanted to say thank you guys for so many laughs and good conversations. I'm going to go home and celebrate 4 years of sobriety. Congratulations. With some fried chicken in my family. It sounds wonderful. Thanks for being a huge anchor in my life. That's helped me helped keep me sober. Seriously, God bless you guys.
Dude, that's huge. I mean, I am very, very lucky that I've never developed any kind of a addiction, but I've known people that have. And it is easy to fall into an addiction. It's so hard to get out of it. Whatever it is, alcohol, narcotics, gambling, whatever. It's so hard to get out of it. It's more people get into an addiction than get out. So the fact that you've been able to do that, and it's been 4 years, kudos to you, man. You're our very own Robert Downey Jr.
Yep.
Well done, sir. That is definitely something worth celebrating. So congratulations for that. All right, what's next?
All right, we got Mig says, hey, John and crew, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is really good. I didn't care for it at first watching the trailer, but I've seen episode 1 and 2, and it's awesome.
I haven't seen anything that would make me say it's awesome, but it's cute. I liked it. I didn't love it, and I'm not like counting down the days to the next episode, but I'm definitely going to watch the next episode. I really like Peter. Peter's adorably done. Again, I wouldn't say it's awesome yet. I don't know that you can point something out to me in it that is awesome, but it's better than I thought it would be. And it's at least got me on board. And I never would have thought that would be the case after watching the trailers. All right, what's next?
Spencer says, Dan Brown just announced his next book in the Robert Langdon series. I love Dan Brown books. I understand some don't. I do wish they would revisit the Langdon stories through a TV series. His Lost Symbols on Peacock was a better way to approach these stories over the movies.
Yeah, that's the Da Vinci movies and stuff like that. You know what's really funny? It's one of those weird things where it's like that first Da Vinci Code movie, you know what it suffered from? Sticking too close to the book. That was my first impression when it came out. It's like, this just stuck too close to the book because, again, everybody cries, stay true to the source material. But the problem is often source material is coming from a different medium that works better on a page than it does on the screen. And I thought one of the problems with that movie was that it tried to stick too close to it. Anyway, there's that. I don't know that the Robert Langdon stuff is anywhere near as popular today as it used to be. I don't know if you can do like an HBO Max series about it now. It'd be interesting to see if they did try to do it though. All right, what's next?
JCSC says, I'm no expert on corporate structure, but shouldn't James Gunn's title be Chief Creative Officer rather than CEO? What would that role give limited authority, or is it just semantics?
Oh, no, it's not semantics at all.
No, that's different.
Yeah, you can be a chief creative officer, but now you still work under the direction of and the purview of and the ultimate authority of the CEO.
Right.
There is nobody in DC. Like James Gunn is not the chief creative officer. He's the chief executive officer. He and Peter Safran share the title. They are the ultimate bosses. They answer to one person, and that's David Zaslav, who's the head of the overall corporation of Warner Brothers. But when it comes to that studio, he's CEO. He doesn't have to go to anybody. Like if he wanted to make a whatever movie and he wasn't CEO, he would still have to go to the CEO and get permission to do it. James Gunn can make any movie he wants. It's not just semantics. He is getting more hands-on than a CEO generally should by jumping in and also directing the movies. Again, I think it's a good idea for him to direct the first movie to set the tone for the universe. But I mentioned this on open mic last night. I said, I think he should limit how often he directs to maybe one film every 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
At most, maybe 3 films in 10 years or more.
Or maybe he just does the Superman standalones and that's it.
I don't even think he needs to do the second Superman movie. I think he can hand that off now. I only think it's a good idea he's doing this one, not because it's Superman, but because it's the first film of the cinematic universe.
Yeah.
Get out there, set the tone. So he's going to have to make sure he pays more attention to a CEO role, though, and kind of become the overall shepherd of all the creatives rather than trying to be the creative himself. So we'll see how that goes. All right, what's next?
All right, this is interesting. Cultural Diplomacy says, hey guys, a question about a classic movie. Do you think the trial, even though it wasn't a major part of Shawshank Redemption, and we know Andy is innocent because of the movie, do you think a jury or judge would convict him with the evidence that was presented by the reasonable doubt standard?
Well, they don't go enough into it.
That's the thing. We don't see enough of it.
Like, I don't know what the evidence was that they showed other than the stuff that they just kind of claimed that he came home, he's found with blood on his shirt. They didn't find a guy who did it, blah, blah, blah. And they convicted him. So, I mean, we only got a quick, brief synopsis of what happened in the trial because the movie wasn't about the trial. The trial was just that, hey, this happened. I got found guilty. I swear I didn't do it. And I got sent to Shawshank. So without having seen what all the evidence was in that trial and all the testimony that was in that trial, it's impossible to say whether I think that they would have returned that verdict. I just don't know without seeing it.
Yeah.
Great. One of the greatest movies of all time, though, Shawshank. All right, what's next?
We got Sean Motley says, hi, everyone. Just watched Furiosa, or rewatched Furiosa, and I just realized that Alila Brown, I can't pronounce that right, but who portrayed the younger Furiosa also plays Maria in Sonic 3. I didn't realize that until now.
Really? I never knew that. I never even heard whispers
I didn't even
of that.
catch that. I never even caught that, and I saw both.
I'm glad you caught that. I mean, if I don't know that that's true, guys in the live chat, you can confirm that's true or not. But if that's true, that's actually kind of a cool thing. That's a nice little piece of trivia to get.
I did think that one thing that stuck out to me about Sonic 3, I laughed about it just because I'm a music nerd. But when her and Shadow, they're in 1975, and they play that song by the Traveling Wilburys on the record player, and it's that montage. That song didn't come out for 13 years. I just was like, that's really funny.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
It's like 80 something when it came out.
All right, what's next?
We got Dominic Suma. If given the choice, would James Gunn rather have the fans and critics love the Superman movie but be lukewarm on the Corn Sweat as a character, or have the movie itself not be received well, but the fans by large, like Corn Sweat, will be a great Superman? It's
an awkward question because I don't think you can get the audiences and the critics to love the movie while being lukewarm on Corn Sweat.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that's a possibility that can exist.
The main character wasn't great, but it was a good movie.
Yeah. You know? I didn't like Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, but I love the movie.
Yeah.
That's a very, very difficult distinction to make. Mm-hmm. Now, I thought what he was going to ask was, what do you think James Gunn would prefer? audiences and critics loving the movie or the movie making a lot of money. I would say loving the movie because that sets up future movies for success. But yeah, it's hard to give an answer to that one because it's not a practical scenario that is very realistic. Like people, it can be the other way around. Like a lot of people liked Ben Affleck as Batman, but didn't like the movies he was in as Batman, right? But it's very, very difficult to say not like your main protagonist in the film, but really love the film. That's a tall order. So I don't know. All right, what's next?
John, have you heard the new horror film called Companion? It comes out this week. It's been great. It's been great so far.
Yeah, that's the Jack Quaid one,
Yeah,
right?
I'm seeing that tomorrow.
I still haven't seen. I've talked to a couple people who've seen it because again, whenever Jack Quaid comes up, I'm more focused on his new one, Novocaine. Like that's the one that's also got Amber Midthunder in it. I'm really excited for that movie, but I'm hearing amazing things about Companion. So it was not on my radar, but it is now. But I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to try to get out to see it in the next day or two. All right, what's next?
All right, we got Joe Howland. We got, hey, John and crew, hope you're having a great day. My question is, did you see Alien Earth trailer during the Chiefs game? If so, what is your opinion?
I did not.
I didn't realize there was a full one. I thought it was just that same teaser.
But is it just the same? I have heard nothing about an Alien Earth trailer dropping, and I watched the Chiefs game.
So now I wonder if he hadn't seen that teaser before and it was the teaser. If anyone knows.
Yeah, I have no idea. I've certainly not seen anything out there about a new Alien Earth trailer. Like the only one that I know of is that just little kind of, what do you call it? Stylistic one where it just kind of you see the planet and then it zooms back and it's a bit of an alien, but that's one was already out there. I haven't seen anything new though with it. All right. Is that it?
Yeah.
And guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. That'll do it for us, guys. For Jonathan Voico.
See you guys.
My name's John Campea. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.